It is day 136 of the second Trump administration, and the Congressional Budget Office has made it official. They've unveiled their analysis of the GOP spending megabill. And according to the CBO, Trump's bill will raise the deficit by more than $2 trillion over the next 10 years. Right now, there are still some Senate GOP holdouts, but they don't seem as angry as a one Elon Musk. Fresh out of Washington and far away from Trump, the former head of DOJ is absolutely blasting the administration over the bill, demanding a do-over and leaving Speaker Johnson to do some serious damage control. Watch this.
I talk to President Trump, all the time, multiple times a day. Obviously, we've talked about this. He's, as you know, he's not delighted that Elon did a 180 on that. But look, I don't know what happened in 24 hours. Everybody can draw their own conclusions about that, okay? But I look forward to talking to my friend about it again, and I'm not upset about it.
Meanwhile, a new study from the New York Federal Reserve finds that businesses have rapidly hiked prices in response, can you guess to what? Donald Trump's tariffs, passing on the cost to us consumers. And today, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick defended the president's aggressive trade policies from Republican Senator John Kennedy. I want you to watch this.
If Vietnam, for example, came to you tomorrow and said, okay, Mr. Secretary, you win. We're going to remove all tariffs and all trade barriers. Would the United States please do the same? Would you accept that deal?
Absolutely not. Okay. Absolutely not. That would be the silliest thing we could do.
What's the purpose of reciprocity then? Is reciprocity not one of your goals?
I'd like him to answer that question. Let's bring in our nightcap because it's a great one. Philip Bump is here, Washington Post columnist focused largely on the numbers behind politics. Peter Goodman joins us, global economics correspondent for the New York Times, and former New York congressional candidate and journalist John Avlon. He hosts the Bulwark podcast. You must listen. It's an excellent one, How to Fix It with John Avlon. I think a whole lot of people in Washington should listen. All right, Philippe.
Yes, ma'am.
Elon Musk ordering Republicans to get back to the drawing board. Mike Johnson says there's no time to do so. Here's my question. Why is Mike Johnson justifying anything to Elon Musk, who at this point is nothing more than an ordinary citizen, a really wealthy one?
Yeah, no, I mean, the caveat at the end there is obviously very important. I think a lot of Republicans still believe that Elon Musk has the ability to sway elections. I have said, I'm happy to go back to my track record on this. I don't think Elon Musk did much of anything last year at all. He got way too much credit for Donald Trump's victory. If you look at how the spending went, we saw what happened when he tried to spend heavily in Wisconsin. I think Republicans are very quickly going to learn that if they have to choose between Trump and Elon to assure their political futures, that Trump is going to be the better bet for them over the short term. And I think that we are in the process of the GOP figuring out what this fissure between Trump and Musk looks like and where the power actually lies. And so we see Johnson, who, he's hard to pin down in general on a lot of things, but we see him in this place where a lot of Republicans are going to be, which is, okay, wait a minute, now this once unified power center has started to fracture. I need to figure out where the power is actually going to be, and they haven't yet figured that out.
Can we just go back to that? Even if you don't think Elon Musk's money changes elections, you can't deny the power of Twitter. People can dump on Twitter and say it's not as good as it used to be, but scores of people still use it, read it, follow it all day, every day, and he controls it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. It's called X now.
I'm aware. Thank you.
I know you're right.
Thank you.
But, it speaks to his attentiveness to the brand values. But, yes, that is absolutely true. I will again say, though, that Elon Musk came in hot and heavy in Wisconsin. He had Twitter in Wisconsin. He spent a lot of money in Wisconsin. He got his tail whipped into Wisconsin, right? So, if we're talking about political power, yes, there's absolutely power in that pulpit, but there's also power in a lot of other right-wing infrastructure in the media, of Fox News and other voices that exist out there. Elon Musk isn't the only voice. He's very powerful. Don't get me wrong, but I still think
heavy and the whipping of tails. Phil,
it's late night.
It's late finished night. For this segment. You want to chime in here?
The 11 o'clock show gets a little
there
blue.
You go. Thank you for that. We're done.
But look, not that long ago, senators were talking who were even thinking about voting against Trump cabinet nominees. They were being threatened by primaries with Elon Musk's money.
Pre-Wisconsin.
Pre-Wisconsin, but let's not over-index. I mean, it's an incredibly important race, but a presidential is more impactful, and he does control the algorithm. And it is a significant rupture. And he is now a little bit unleashed and saying, calling this bill an abomination? That's a long way from big and beautiful.
A disgusting abomination.
Yes, it's important to modify that.
Can we talk about the CBO report? You've got Republicans who are in favor of the bill. And instead of defending the bill, they're now going after the report, saying, well, the CBO has gotten it wrong before. We shouldn't trust their numbers. What do you think of that? Because if we are now questioning economic data that we use year in, year out, month in, month out, this goes right to the heart of sowing distrust across every important vertical out there.
For sure. I mean, back in March, Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary,
told
us that he was going to recalculate how we do GDP. This is, gross domestic product. This is the central figure of our economic assessment by mainstream economists, and he left hanging how he would do it exactly. He suggested that, government spending, that shouldn't be counted. Never mind that when the government spends money, that's actually real money. It ends up in people's pockets. They go and spend it. If you take some of it away, that has economic ripple effects. I think we all understand that without having to have a doctorate in economics. And so now, since then, we've heard that we're going to stop doing consumer surveys because the administration doesn't like the tenor of the conversation around inflation. Oh, let's work on how we do the CBO calculations because we don't like the deficit. I mean, this is the classic authoritarian playbook. You don't like the numbers, so change the numbers. And if we mess with this, then we have really hacked the basic workings of the economic apparatus in what it is supposed to be a democracy.
Okay, but just go through this bill. You don't need the CBO to go through every line item and number. Were any of us surprised by the report? We saw what's in there. Yeah, it's going to balloon the deficit.
Yeah.
I'm going to get technical here, but no duh.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to balloon the deficit, the debt. It's going to shred the social safety net. There are going to be more people uninsured. You're going to see more folks kicked off Medicaid, 1 million in New York State alone, a third of which are kids, by the way. And you're going to see the food stamp program gutted. And that's not all. And look, a lot of the folks voted for the bill without knowing what was in it. But we should know, over decades, Republicans only give a damn about the deficit and debt when Democrat is president. Right. And this just codifies that, and it's the worst of both worlds.
Can you just go back to the last thing you said?
Sure.
Lots of people voted for the bill and then had to publicly say, I'm looking at you, Marjorie Taylor Greene, oh, I didn't realize what's in it. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, that's legit the most important part of your job.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I think we all know that big legislation like that, legislators often don't read. The difference here is...
But what's the point of staffs?
Well, that's, I don't disagree with that. Absolutely, legislators should be cognizant of what's in there. But the point I was going to make is that they also jammed a bunch of nonsense in here.
Which they always do. Everyone does.
Yes, but there's a sliding scale of nonsense, right? I mean, there's nonsense, and then there's, no state is allowed to implement AI legislation for 10 years, right? Like, so there's different
making it harder
sorts of
for judges to do contempt of court to shield members of the Trump administration, which, by the way, had been out there for weeks before the bill was passed, and still people are saying, I had no idea.
Marjorie Taylor Greene's thing is the regulation of AI. I mean, so there's two key reveals here. One is what is the biggest, open secret in Washington, which is people vote on stuff all the time for reasons having nothing to do with the substance. There are lots of other calculations. Get back to Musk and why Musk is unhappy.
Okay, that's what I want to talk about. What's in it for him? Why does he still care?
His NASA appointment. And so Musk is essentially revealing, hey, you know what? If I write a check for $300 million, I expect policies that are going to be friendly to my business interests. And if I don't get them, I'm going to be unhappy about that. And you know what? Money still does matter in politics.
Honestly, I think part of the Musk thing, too, and this is just sort of a gut, but I feel like part of it is he needs to rebuild the dam with the people who hate Donald Trump. And I realize that is going to be an almost impossible task. But
Hold on. Explain this to me. So wealthy people who shop at Whole Foods who traditionally liked Teslas, he's doing this to make them want to drive a Tesla. Like, he's doing this in hopes of Sheryl Crow calling up and saying, that Tesla, I'm going to take it on back. Really? That's why he's doing it?
I suspect that part of this is, yes, that he is leaving government to go. He has been told, you need to come back to Tesla and right this ship. And the thing that damaged Tesla was him. And so to the extent that he can be like, oh, actually, what Donald Trump did is bad, like, if it sells 1% more Teslas, he's doing his job.